Everything we fail to confront in life becomes our destiny. In his book, Inner Gold, Jungian analyst Robert Johnson explores a modern affliction affecting countless individuals: loneliness. He states that loneliness is an internal matter and distinguishes three primary types: loneliness of the past, loneliness of unrealized potential, the profound loneliness of being close to the divine. The first type, loneliness of the past, refers to regressive yearnings from earlier life stages like adolescence or early adulthood. When we long to return to our place of origin, we miss the comfort and security of the good old days. This is a loneliness that looks backward, a hunger for the Garden of Eden. However, little can be done about it since this type of loneliness is rooted in the desire to return to the maternal womb, a complex that, especially in men, can manifest as a desire to fail, relinquish power, and retreat. This nostalgia for the past can destroy a marriage, ruin a career, and leave you paralyzed in nearly every aspect of life. Grief, for instance, is a manifestation of this desire to return to what was. When we lose something, the sadness and loneliness are understandable, but they are essentially backward glances. Even if we wish to relive these moments, every attempt to step backward is doomed to fail, for it's impossible to turn back time. The second type of loneliness is the yearning for what's possible, but not yet achieved. The vibrant, functioning human being has a vivid intuition of their capabilities and projects themselves toward what they might conquer. They fantasize about an ideal relationship or perfect situation that will alleviate their loneliness. However, when our sense of worth and meaning always lies outside ourselves, in someone, somewhere, or some condition that promises to heal our troubles, we become trapped in an unsolvable dilemma. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread these ancient wisdom lessons. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Comment your thoughts about the topic we are discussing. The third type of loneliness is the most subtle and challenging to handle: the loneliness of being dangerously close to the divine. Proximity to the divine is always accompanied by extreme pain, a sensation that what we desire is unbearable. A medieval proverb states that the only cure for loneliness is solitude. In the modern world, loneliness has reached its peak, and the ancient methods that used to protect us have worn away. When immersed in this kind of pain, we cry out for liberation, wanting to escape the suffering. However, as our understanding deepens, we retreat, remain quiet, and choose not to move until the dilemma resolves itself. Though the journey is hellish, resolution finally arrives. At this point, when we manage to traverse loneliness, redemption occurs, and we realize there's nowhere to go externally because the work has always been within us. The transformation of loneliness into profound solitude is a brilliant process. If we're honest and perceptive, we can distinguish between regressive loneliness, which is the first category, and the deeper levels of loneliness that manifest in ineffable ways. At these levels, we sense and envision what we cannot yet possess. Although these types of loneliness might seem indistinguishable, if we can identify exactly why we feel lonely, it will reveal much about ourselves. An individual touched by loneliness is someone in the process of renewal, immersed in the journey of individuation. Loneliness can either destroy or ignite you, propelling you to embark on a Dantesque journey through the hells and purgatories of paradise. Thomas Merton, American monk and theologian, wrote a beautiful treatise on solitude where he commented that certain people are compelled to endure the loneliness of God. This form of loneliness is the evolution to a higher level of reality. Those forced to endure the loneliness of God should be forced to do nothing else. If you can transform your loneliness into solitude in the sense of a deep and meaningful experience, you're one step away from the most precious experience of all. Merton also notes that the more one knows, the lonelier they may feel. A recent study suggests that nearly a quarter of the global adult population experiences loneliness frequently, amounting to over 1 billion people, and this number could be even higher given research limitations. The most crucial question is, why is this happening? And more importantly, what can we do about it? Psychologist C.C. Jung, founder of analytical psychology, had a profound insight into loneliness. In his autobiography, Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung wrote that knowledge of internal processes shaped his relationship with the world from early on. He shared, "Since childhood, I felt alone, and I still do, because I understand things that others seem unaware of, and most often don't want to know." For Jung, loneliness doesn't stem from the absence of physical company, but from the inability to communicate important ideas and feelings, or from the rejection of opinions we consider essential. Jung stated that loneliness doesn't come from being alone, but from the difficulty of expressing what we authentically feel. If someone knows more than others, they become solitary. Yet, he didn't see loneliness as an enemy of companionship. He believed that no one was more sensitive to companionship than the solitary individual. For him, true connection can only flourish when each person preserves their individuality without dissolving into others. Jung's provocative vision suggests that loneliness is largely an inner disconnection. Everyone desires meaningful connections where they can share deep thoughts and feelings. When we feel unheard, unseen, or misunderstood, we withdraw and loneliness sets in, even when surrounded by people. When our beliefs and perspectives aren't accepted by others, we're tempted to hide our true selves for fear of rejection or judgment. This disconnection prevents genuine connection. Jung's reflection on loneliness is significant because it shifts focus from external to internal circumstances. He believed that fully expressing who we are is essential for a rich, connected life. The attempt to please others, though socially valued, can harm our mental and physical health. Decades of research indicate that suppressing our feelings activates our stress response. Ignoring how we feel generates inflammation and weakens the immune system. Even when our opinions or feelings seem unusual, Jung believed it was crucial to find a safe space to express them. Suppressing them can create a deep sense of isolation. He wrote about his own experience of childhood loneliness, mentioning that he played alone in his own way, unable to share these feelings with others, except perhaps with his mother. However, even with her, he realized the communication wasn't adequate. For him, this wasn't beneficial, so he remained alone with his thoughts. Generally, he preferred being alone, dreaming, playing, or walking through the forest where he had a secret world of his own. Jung struggled but recovered later in life. He remembered his individuality and chose a different path, stating that prosperity thrives only when each individual remembers their uniqueness and doesn't completely identify with others, ignoring their own feelings and needs. Ignoring needs, even unconsciously, can trigger a stress response. The release of stress hormones increases inflammation levels, weakening the immune system. Among psychologists, there's broad consensus about our fundamental needs. These have been listed in various ways: belonging and connection, autonomy or sense of control over one's life, mastery or competence, genuine self-esteem, not dependent on achievements or others' appreciation, confidence, and purpose, meaning transcendence or knowing oneself as part of something greater. Given our evolutionary origin, the assertion that man's physical and mental life and nature are interdependent simply means that nature is interdependent with itself, since humans are part of nature. None of this is new to you or something you don't intuitively understand. For instance, how do you feel when each of these needs is met? What happens in your mind and body when one of these needs is absent, denied, or withdrawn? Do what you can for others, but don't lose yourself in the process. Speak your truth and establish your boundaries. Take better care of your mental health, as your happiness and stability depend on it. However, on the other hand, we must understand that solitude has its sweetness, the pleasure of not having to endure the presence of others. While people can enrich our lives in many ways, they can also be significant sources of pain. Let's be honest, in many cases it's not the work that makes environments toxic, but the people in those places. Similarly, it's not the school that makes some children unhappy, but rather poor teachers and bullies. Human beings have the gift of making others unhappy, but at the same time, we're skilled at providing comfort and happiness. Consequently, human interaction is an exchange. The more we interact, the more we encounter the shadow side of others. The more we distance ourselves, the less we face human toxicity and the stress of dealing with intrusive, arrogant, dishonest, envious, and ill-tempered people, as Marcus Aurelius described about the difficult individuals he encountered daily. It's no surprise that the sage, described in Zhuangzi's Taoism, rejected the position of ruler and chose a solitary life in a riverside cabin where he could fish and be at peace. Being alone is a pleasure, and when the joy of solitude captivates us, it can become addictive. The absence of criticism, the peace, tranquility, and freedom, all these are part of solitude. A person is truly themselves when alone, and if they don't love solitude, they won't love freedom. Schopenhauer wrote that only in solitude are you truly free. It offers a space where you're not limited by social norms or by others' desires and needs. It's preferable to be out of people's sight than to seek company while suffering in their presence. Spending time alone plays a profound role in various religious traditions, such as Buddhism. Buddha exhorted people to withdraw from social life, considering solitude a pillar of spiritual enlightenment. Many philosophers also recognized the value of solitude. One of them was Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who admitted enjoying solitude because it allowed him to escape humanity's animosity while enjoying nature's smile. The power of detachment in solitude also applies to the nihilistic approach to life. For Nietzsche, spending time alone wasn't a spiritual matter or about closeness to nature. He saw solitude as a means of separating from a crowd contaminated by what he called slave morality, a value system that stripped people of their power, turning them into docile sheep resentful of their shepherds. Nietzsche also criticized the shepherd's morality, as both were part of the same system of oppression and submission. Relative to nature, solitude offers us a way to transcend this system. Solitude allows us to create new individual values beyond conventional boundaries. It enables us to know ourselves, embrace our individuality, and reflect on how we want to live authentically on our own terms. Whether seeking spiritual enlightenment, a deeper connection with nature, escaping traditional values and conventional ideas, or creating fertile ground for individual meaning, solitude becomes our companion. Social interaction has a price, and sometimes that price is too high. But solitude also has its cost, especially when excessive or unwanted. Depending on the individual, being away from people for too long can be harmful. Loneliness and isolation are growing problems. Some people yearn for social interaction but struggle to obtain it. It's better to be alone than in bad company, but it's also preferable to be accompanied than to wish not to be. There's a balance to be found, and in my experience, this balance isn't fixed. It depends on who I am, my life situation, and my needs at any given moment. This requires daily self-reflection, asking myself what I want and need now. We should never cling to absolute positions, because our desire for solitude constantly changes, just as our need for social interaction does. This continuous self-inquiry helps me balance solitude and coexistence with others. The more true I am to myself, the healthier my relationship becomes with both solitude and people. Being alone can be unpleasant, just as being surrounded by people and wanting to be alone can be. It takes courage to deal with loneliness, courage to admit the situation and step out of your comfort zone, as well as to acknowledge the desire for solitude and withdraw from social life, even if only temporarily. Recognizing that people around you might cause more harm than good, especially in cases of abuse, also requires courage. Sometimes following the call of solitude might be the best decision. The challenge, of course, is knowing whether you're willing and prepared to step back and move forward. If you learn to feel comfortable and content alone, you'll be less likely to become attached to others. It's better to be alone than in bad company, because in solitude we find the strength we thought we needed from others. As Carl Jung wrote, many heroes from mythology and modern fiction went through crucial periods of solitude to achieve greatness. Heroes like Perseus, Achilles, Hercules, and Odysseus, along with more recent figures like Batman, Frodo, and Neo. These examples, along with our own experiences, show that in solitude we can find deep knowledge of ourselves. If used wisely, this introspection can lead to our fall or reveal our true potential. In the end, the decision about which path solitude will guide us on is exclusively ours. In solitude, the unconscious manifests more clearly. When we're alone, we have the opportunity to hear the inner voices that are often silenced in daily life. If you've watched until the end, I'm sure you'll also enjoy my last video that is appearing on your screen now. See you next time.